All right. Hello, I'm David Hasso. I'm interviewing Gabriel Muñoz. He attends the University of USC. And here we go. So, Gabriel, how was your high school experience?
My high school experience was it was one that was really fruitful in many ways, because in high school, I think aside from the academic part of it, it's when you really get the opportunity to join a lot of different activities, like not just things that are related to the class that you're taking, but there's a lot of, for example, sports that you can do, and student organizations, clubs that do different things, whether it's recreationally or whether it's I don't know, with some kind of service to the community. So I think high school is a time where students can really sort of form kind of like more of like their identity, like I suppose, and start working towards things that they really feel passionate about. So it was both difficult because the pressure of doing well academically, but at the same time you meet a tons of new people, and I just get exposed to a lot of things that are gonna come later, like in university and stuff. So
Yeah. Were you involved in any sports or clubs in high school?
yeah, I played football since I was 6 years old, and so coming into high school, it was something I still wanted to do, and I played all 4 years of high school. My freshman year, junior varsity year, 10th grade, and 2 years of varsity football. As far as clubs, I was part of the academic league team for my junior and senior years. So it's basically academic questions in like a competitive setting against different schools, and answering during a time limit and stuff. And that was I don't know, just an opportunity to sort of like let loose on, I don't know, anything you've learned, whether it was something you picked up in class, or just something that you learned through your, I don't know, the content that you consume. So it was really fun, especially a lot of students in all my classes were kind of interested, I suppose. So it was fun too.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. What attracted you to the University of California, and just in other words, why did you choose that university over any other college?
Yeah, so the University of Southern California, it's, well, I've, aside from being already sort of familiar with the school in terms of not just coming to campus, but just sort of the culture around it, and the city, because my oldest brother was about had a year left to go in his undergrad when I attended. So he graduated last May. So just him being there, kind of, I already knew a lot of things about the school in terms of the diversity of the student body, and the great, like, long history of tradition and like school spirit in school, which is something that my high school, Julius High School, kind of has that sort of same long tradition. And also the city of Los Angeles was something that interested me. It was just right, because it wasn't super far away. Like I wasn't going like across the country to like the East Coast, or I wasn't going too far up north in California, which is something I knew I wanted to stay in California. But it was different. It's different enough from home, and I definitely wanted to experience being away from home, just because it's just an opportunity to sort of grow and sort of become more independent. And then, of course, USC is a great academic school. It's one of the best universities there is. So those are more or less the reasons I chose.
Okay. Can you tell us what you major in and why you chose to major in that field?
I'm currently a computer science and games major. So my high school didn't offer computer science as any kind of course related to it. As a lot of schools are more and more are starting to put that in because of the recognized sort of necessity and sort of usefulness of and growth of the field. But it was something that interested me coming into school because I have a lot of different interests, which is why I struggled a lot to choose a major because I like to write a lot, but I'm also sort of always been kind of good at math and sort of the sciences fields. But I chose computer science because I thought it was a good fit in terms of where my academic strengths lie, but more importantly, the different applications of computer science. It's used in finance and in business and in games and video games. So in entertainment and all the technology we use with computers and all of these things that interact with computer science it seems very fundamental, especially in the 21st century. So I thought having a good foundation there would really help me in sort of maybe seeing what opportunities there are. And as far as specifically the computer science games major, I played games all my life. Most kids grow up playing games, whether it's video games or sports or anything of that sort. But particularly video games, I've played all my life, and it's fun. And the University of Southern California has not only the best cinema school, of which the games program is a part of, but it also has the best games program in the country for many years now. So it just kind of seemed like a opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Okay. Would you say that college is somewhat changing you, or have you remained the same person that you were when you first signed up for USC?
I'd say the past year has definitely had an impact on me. I'd say the biggest things is that it's given me is perspective because at most universities, or in particular a big university in a major city like Los Angeles, you get a very diverse student body. And so what that means, at least in the context of USC, is you go to class with a lot of students from all over the world, from India, from China, from Korea, and a lot of students like me, Hispanic students, and a lot of people from Los Angeles. But you get this very diverse group of and you get to go to class with them daily, and you get to live with them on campus and do all these things, sort of all sort of thrown at you. And classes are only a semester long, so you very quickly have to get to know them because they're who you're cooperating with, and they're who you're living with. So it just sort of opens your mind really a lot about their sort of issues, where they're coming from, and their culture, what they worry about most. And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest aspect. And then as well, just living on my own, away from my parents for eight months or so of the year, just makes you a more independent person. Just having to look after I don't know, food. For example, this year, my sophomore year, I'm living in an apartment with 3 other guys, and so having to cook your own meals and clean the apartment and stuff like that just kind of really makes you mature, I suppose. So.
And speaking of living on campus, what is campus like? Like, do you go to football games? Do you do any activities like partying? And what is it like?
Yeah. So our campus, it's kind of right really close to downtown Los Angeles, and so it's very close to a lot of things and a lot of events, and sort of a very busy part of the city. So there's always, if not something going on close to campus. I'm not even sure how many clubs and student organizations there are, but there's definitely in the hundreds. for any kind of interest that you might have, whether it's some kind of recreational sport or something more like community service oriented. There's tons of different student organizations, and there's always something going on. They have whether it's some kind of event to get to know people, to network, or whether it's some kind of fundraising event or community service. You walk around campus and there's always booths everywhere from people, promoting what their sort of mission is. Of course, USC has a great athletic tradition. So yeah, I went to a few football games last year, and I went to my first one this season yesterday, in the big win over Texas. It was kind of a really nerve-wracking, but it was really fun. And it's campus is really alive, especially in the fall because of the football season. But there's always more things to do than you can actually do. So if you have some free time, you shouldn't get bored. And if you do, you're probably not going out to look for stuff to do. Like, there's always something. So yeah.
Okay, I see you. Do you have any advice for me to get into such a prestigious university? Like, what should I be doing? And talk me through the admission process and what you did to help you get into USC.
Yeah. So aside from obviously the academic level and sort of having good grades and that most universities, especially of this kind of caliber, kind of require in their students. I'd say they want to. I think the thing that is sort of often overlooked that is really important, especially for these big universities where a lot of the students applying sort of already meet sort of a GPA requirement, or maybe a lot of students are already well-rounded, so they'll be really good students academically, and they'll do sports or they'll do some kind of community service. You really have to distinguish yourself from everybody else, and by that I mean not just doing something, maybe something I don't know, playing like a different sport or some kind of different activity, but you have to really be able to shine in the areas where they allow you that aren't sort of measured by your grades. For example, the writing component of many college applications, where they ask you to submit one or usually multiple personal statements, they call them, usually ask some question about you personally, about I don't know, it could be any sort of things, but they usually concern sort of your values or what kind of personal goals you have, or sometimes they get really creative with those essay questions, but you will have to write, and I think that's where you could really give whoever's reviewing your college application, you could really give them a really good idea of who you are and what's going to make you a good fit for that school, more than your transcripts that just say A's and B's or whatever. So I'd say working on my writing and making sure you're able to sort of dig deep within yourself and sort of really sort of have a clear sort of vision of, not necessarily down to the specifics of what you want to major in or anything, but just really sort of knowing what you want to end up somewhere. So you want to really make sure that you work on that writing so you can express everything you want. Sometimes it's kind of hard to put it on paper, and you could sort of maybe describe it or kind of tell it to someone, but they really are looking for you to be able to put it on the page. And especially, writing isn't just for like English majors or something of that sort. They'll be asking, engineers to write papers at times, or in the science field, you have to write formal research papers and so on. So it's just a really good skill that you will need. It will be asked of you, and ultimately it will be able to give you I suppose some kind of edge in applications. And apart from the actual college application, which you should be looking into what as probably as early as you can in your junior year. You want to have that and try to gain some independence in terms of how to organize your time and what time you want to give to your different activities and homework and things like planning out schedules and stuff like that, because that's a thing that's you can never be prepared enough in college. You will be bouncing around, very little short slots of time that you will need for some homework or for some meeting for a group project or for some club that you want to go to. So I think time management skills are something you always have to keep working on and sort of be really conscious of, especially early on. If you have really good habits like that, saving time and knowing where to put your priorities, learning how to prioritize what you have to get done is going to come really in handy. So if you make those good habits of putting your time where it needs to be, being responsible, and working on your writing, because that always has room for improvement. I could say that much. I think will go a long way in your college application process.
And then one last question: what advice do you have for me as far as choosing a major? Like, what if I'm just interested in a bunch of majors? Like you said, you're interested in many things. What helped you choose your major?
Well, there's always sort of two kinds of. I don't want to be quite as rigid as that, but usually people when they try to choose a major, many will focus on sort of what would be a good major in terms of kind of job security in the future, or they want to think ahead a lot in terms of their careers. And so, which ultimately is why we're at university, or a big part of it, right? Preparing for that future, when we have to go into the real world and work. So maybe we'll focus on that aspect of finding maybe what will be the best opportunity for them to work and to do something that will sort of allow them to be successful. And then there's a lot of people who do focus most or completely on what they love, what they like, and so that if they have the passion for it, they'll be able to succeed in that field. I'd say ultimately it lies somewhere in the middle of those two sort of viewpoints, but probably closer to what you really like, because ultimately if you're not comfortable with sort of the field, the major that you're choosing, if you don't feel like going to class, like if you don't get up in the morning and sort of be at least somewhat interested in the classes that you're going to be attending and the work you have to be doing, and all these things, that it's going to be no good. So you have to really dig deep and sort of think about what sort of things you enjoy doing, what sort of things maybe there's some subject in school that maybe, I don't know, you do kind of well in, but you don't know if you could work there, or if you'd like to do it in college. Give it some more time or attention. Maybe if you try to work more at it or get even better at it, you'll find that you really enjoy it. I personally, in my senior year of high school, I kind of, after sort of elementary school through middle school through up to middle or junior year, part of my high school career, I always kind of would say, to what's your favorite subject kind of question, I would oftentimes would sort of say math, but not fully, not with a lot of confidence. Like I would say I've been pretty good at math all my life, but I would sort of never kind of embrace it. And in the later stages of high school, when I took calculus classes where I thought math got a lot more interesting, I kind of really realized and sort of accepted that it's something that I actually really enjoyed doing. And particularly when sort of I didn't tutor per se really formally, but I kind of always sort of try to look for opportunities to, I don't know, explain, if I could explain something better to a friend or something, and I could sort of if I had a really good understanding of some idea, I would always sort of want to go out and try to help and explain. And so some friends, a lot of friends, oftentimes would ask me about questions about the material, or sort of if I could explain it better, because maybe the teacher wasn't able to get it across in the way that they best got it. So having that experience of sort of embracing some subjects and being open-minded sort of helped me accept, hey, I've been good at math so far, but I actually really like it now. And while I'm not doing math as a major, I'm not taking math currently in this semester, but I kind of do miss it. But it does come into play in computer science, because computing, math and engineering, and any kind of engineering are really intersect everywhere. So I'd say really try to find what you like and what you're passionate about, and if there's something that can help you go in that direction, in that field, then that's what you need to do. And if you're sort of not completely certain, then try to be open to other possibilities. Maybe there's something that you sort of think you like, and maybe you're sort of good at, but maybe you don't. I don't know, you haven't explored it enough. So I would also say be open-minded and try new things. You never know when you might find the thing you really, really like, right, until you try it. So I wouldn't shut the door on any potential major, because people change majors all the time. They might find a year and a half into college that, hey, I don't want to do business. I really like writing, so they'll change majors or something. So keep an open mind and try to look for what you really like.
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up. So thank you, Gabriel, for your time.
Yeah,
I hope you do good in college, and thank you.
Yeah, of course. I wish you the best, man. I'm sure you'll be doing great.